Okay, got it, got it. Yeah, we're recording. Okay. I had all my shots and boosters and thought I was fine, but it put me in bed for a couple days and they were not good days in bed. I was hurting, fevers, pain.
Yeah,
But the good news is I'm assuming that the medicine kept me from going into a hospital and being worse.
yes,
Yeah. So,
yes,
uh,
yes. Well, I had it in December and Joe followed me. And then we had three of the grandchildren that followed. And so as they got it, this became the COVID center. But we're all over it and we survived it and right. It kept us from going out of the house, getting into the hospital. So
mhm.
for that, yes.
Okay, are we ready to start or should we wait?
Nope, you go for it. I think we're ready, don't you think, Pastor Joe?
Okay. Well, I think most of you know me. I'm an old lawyer. I've been around Charles County for about 40 years now, practicing law. And I have to tell you, I dearly love your church. Um, while I'm not up there, most of you know, I live in South Carolina most of the time, but I do check in on YouTube and watch you singing and dancing and praying. And I hope you know my spirit's in the room with you. Um, I it's been about 2 or 3 years since I actually came and met with you in person. I really enjoyed that. I prefer being in person. I like engaging people and one-on-one and getting the feedback from you. But given the fact that I'm probably still positive for COVID, meeting like this is our best solution. There are a number of things I want to go over with you. A little like Paul Revere, I want to put some warnings out there, hopefully to try and keep you from being taken advantage of. But I like, first of all, most of you know my main thing is car accidents. I worked in the insurance commission for 6 years, and then along with my partner, Tim Pfizer, we do a lot of cases. I want to spend exactly 2 minutes talking to you about car accidents, because it's not really what I want to talk to you about tonight. I want to get onto the identity and fraud and stuff. But the one thing that keeps coming up over the last couple years, I have one thing I'm asking you to remember. If you're in a car accident, call the police. Call the police. Couple reasons for that. Number one, people are getting crazy out there. And when you're in an accident, even if it's the other person's fault, you have no idea how they're going to react. There are too many instances now where people who cause an accident get out and yelling and screaming at the other people or threatening the other people or who knows what. As a matter of safety, number one, as a matter of personal safety, I don't care how big or small the accident is. If you're in an accident, call the police, call 911 or call the Charles County Sheriff, if that's where you are. The good news is in Charles County, wherever you are, the police are usually there in a matter of a couple minutes. So if you're in an accident, call the police. And I even recommend you stay in the car until they get there. Don't get out, don't engage people, don't talk to people. Just sit there a couple minutes till the police arrive and take control of the situation. The other thing is, in a number of cases we found where people did not call the police. They didn't call the police. They were given false information. They were given false names, false addresses, false insurance, all kinds of false information. I actually had a case a few years back where the gentleman who didn't hire a lawyer. He actually came to me with like 6 months left out of this 3-year statute of limitations and tried to get me to help. And he didn't even have the right name of the people. He didn't really know who had hit him. And that's a big problem. You can actually lose out everything if you can't say the identity of the person who got you. At least the police coming to the scene will help secure that. Get the information, get the insurance and what on. The other thing is, again, if you're in a car accident, after you call the police, call someone you know. Call a relative, call a friend, call someone who can come to the scene and be there with you. You may end up being taken to a hospital in an ambulance. You want somebody there to secure your car, secure your valuables in the car, and even maybe be the one who takes their camera out and photographs a few photographs at the scene. It's helpful. And that's pretty much all I really want to go into about the car accidents. On your phone, many of you know, on your telephone, in your contacts, there's something about ICE that is, if you put a contact in there, like if you open my phone and you go to ICE, it'll have my wife's name and phone number. And many of the fire and police EMTs on the scene, if they can see your phone and get in there, a lot of times they'll see that ICE number, they'll look for it and call. And that's pretty much it. After that, go to doctors, go to lawyers. But the one thing I really wanted to drive home is, if you're in an accident, call the police, get them to the scene, let them control the situation, let them protect you until everything is taken care of. Okay? Now, I want to slow down because one of the things, whenever we're going to trial or preparing a witness to testify, one of the things I caution them about is talking too much. And that sounds funny coming from a lawyer, I know. But my point is this. You've heard the old thing about hiding a tree in the forest. I try to avoid hiding a tree in the forest. There's some very few important trees that I want you to hear tonight. So I'm trying to avoid spending a lot of time telling you a lot of things about a lot of stuff, so you can focus in on this. By the way, and I'd hoped to do this ahead of time, but in the next week or two, probably 2 weeks, I'm going to send a box of folders to the church, and it's going to have like talking points from what I'm talking about tonight, because I don't want you to forget it, and I don't want you to worry about taking notes or whatever. But I will send some folders with talking points about what I'm going over tonight. The biggest thing, and let me get right to it. This is something that is utmost on my mind and why I asked to speak to you tonight. And it's the internet scams. Internet scams. And there's a whole bunch of them. It's hard. I wish I could sit here and tell you, here's one internet scam and I want you to watch out for it. Can't do that. The people who are doing the scams are very smart. They're coming at you wearing different faces, different disguises with different things, but there's certain things in common. And what I want to try and get across to you tonight is what I call red flags. How many of you women have what I call women's intuition? You know, how many of you, when you're hearing a story and it's not sounding quite right. Little bells go off, little things in your stomach. You start getting that, you know, I'm not quite buying this. Okay. I guess what I'm saying is, I want you to rely heavily on that. I want you to give that the credibility it deserves, the importance it deserves. And that goes for men too. We all have it. We just call it something else. And we let the women know, believe that theirs is better than ours, but we all have it. That thing, it just doesn't sound right thing. Okay. The internet right now, I want you to imagine this. Imagine that you walk out the front door of your house. And the moment you walk out the front door of your house, everybody's out to get you. Everybody's out to get you. They're coming at you from every direction with every device, and they're all out to get you. Okay? Now, with that image in mind, I want you to think of your computer. Getting on your computer is stepping out of that house. As soon as you get into that world of that computer, we are all, and I mean all, babes in the woods, and they are all out to get us. That's a fact. In fact, one of the reasons that I'm talking to you, and one of the reasons I've gone into this, was for my own well-being. I've spent the last year talking to my wife saying, well, do we need to buy LifeLock? Do we need to freeze our credit reports? Do we need to do this? Do we need to do that? Out of fear, out of my own protection, I've started doing my own investigations, my own whatever. And I'm still working on it. And as I find more, I'll try and pass it on to you by email or what have you. But one of the big things is called what I call, what many people call, a refund scam. Refund scam. And it's very common. And the problem with the refund scam is it comes to you again from many different places, in many different guises. Years ago, now, although I'm probably sure they're still doing it, one of the big tricks they had was this. Let's say that you have a car for sale and you list that car for $12,500. And a guy would call up and say, I want your car. I'm buying your car. I will have someone pick it up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a cashier's check for $15,000. Unfortunately, it's already made out. It's a cashier's check. And I'm going to send it to you for $15,000 because I trust you. You can go ahead and put the money in the bank and just send me back the difference. Okay? And they did this. And by the way, the cashier's checks they used were so authentic looking that banks couldn't tell. It might look like it's coming from Bank of America or a credit union, and they look real. And the bank that you deal with, you put it in the account and they deposit it until it goes to that bank, and that bank kicks it back as fake. Meanwhile, you may have fallen for it and sent them the difference back. You sent them $2,500. They trusted you. They gave you too much money, and then you sent them $2,500. The problem is you find out that you never got $15,000 from them. Okay? That's kind of an old trick. And it comes up all the time. You'll see people selling boats, selling musical instruments. I actually had a relative, um, distant relative, grandson's, step grandson's child in Texas. I don't know, a distant relative, but they were talked into doing a business online, work from home. We will send you stuff, you'll lick envelopes or you'll do packages or whatever. And we'll pay you. And then what you do is you put these checks in the bank, you take your commissions out, and then you send the rest of it on to someone else. Again, the checks were fake. And by the time they found out, they were out like 10 grand. You know, and yeah, these people always get caught, but you'll never see your money again. You know, it's not your bank's fault, and your bank's going to want their money back, and you're out. But one of the things that you're seeing so far is a situation has occurred. It was manipulated by the thieves, but at some point, you are paying them back. Okay, that's a big red flag, and I want that number one top. If there's a situation and you find, for whatever reason, and it may seem perfectly legitimate, you're paying them back, stop. Call me, call somebody, stop. Nothing will happen to you. If you legitimately owe money to somebody, if you truly owe money to somebody, a delay of a couple days isn't going to hurt. A delay of a couple days isn't criminal. You tell that person, look, you may be entitled to this. I don't know. I'm going to look at it for a couple days and see if this all shakes out, and then I'll talk to you. Don't be afraid or intimidated, because these people will try to intimidate. And I'll get to that. They'll try and push you and shove you and coerce you. But if you find yourself in any situation where you are having to give people money back for any reason, stop, put it on hold, and just calm down. We can wait a couple days. Give me a call, and let's find out before you send money back. Now, the big one on this refund scam, and this is costing Americans right now roughly $150 million a year, according to the FBI. $150 million a year. And a lot of it is sadly put upon the elderly. They look out for people that are old like me, you know, or even older, to prey on us, to take advantage of our naivete, our trust. But let me give you an example. And this is, do many of you watch YouTube? I live on YouTube. I love YouTube. I learned so much. I study electronics and chemistry and all kinds of stuff that I never learned in high school on YouTube. I think it's great. It has wonderful things. Excuse me. Coffee time. There is a guy with a YouTube channel that I watch a lot. I drive my wife crazy. She'll come in, you're watching that? Yeah. His name is, his channel is called Scammer Payback. Scammer Payback. And I'll send you this in the notes that I'm going to have. But he's a young guy. He's a very intelligent guy. He has a background in cybercrime. He knows computers inside and out. And he also speaks a little Hindi, which is interesting. But what happens is this, and he plays out these scenarios. You may get something, you may get an email. In fact, I just got one I was going to share with you, that says somebody's trying to buy a camera on your Amazon account. Somebody's trying to buy a camera on your Amazon account. And it looks real, by the way. They have no problem with the graphics and the logos, and makes it look like a real email from Amazon. And unless you're sharp and you know how to hover your mouse over the email address to see that it's not really Amazon, a lot of people don't get that, but they'll call up, they'll go. In fact, I have to tell you, a couple of years ago, I think I did this myself. I actually called Amazon is what I did, but I'll get to that. What they want you to do is call them on this email. And once you do, you're going to be thinking you're talking to Amazon. And in fact, you're talking to a bunch of guys in India. And I don't mean to be racist about this or pick out it, but India is the hub of it right now. Kolkata, Mumbai, a little bit in Delhi, West Bengal, are where these people are coming from with these call centers. They'll have a floor in a hotel or office building, and they may have 100 people in a room, all on telephones, all talking to people like you who got the email and are calling in upset, saying, no, I didn't order that camera. Okay, you didn't order it. So what they do is this, at that point, they say, okay, ma'am, well, we will take care of you, and I'm going to refer you to my security person. They refer you around a bunch of people, and they say, well, what we're going to do is this. It's been charged to your account, but since you say that's not your camera, we're going to send you a refund. Okay, aha, here comes the refund scam. Are you ready? So they will tell you, and Reverend Joe can explain this more than I can because he's smarter in computers. But by the way, I want to put that disclaimer out there. I am not a computer expert. I'm just someone on the hunt like you for information. I'm trying to share that. But what they do is this. They ask you to download an app to your computer, to your desktop. Some of them are called AnyDesk. Some of them are called TeamViewer. And what it does is it allows the guy on the other end in India to contact your computer and enter your computer and control your computer and go through everything in your computer. That's pretty scary right there. Once they do that, they say, well, you are clearly entitled to a refund, $1,200 refund. And what they do is they tell you, look, we can't see what you're doing, which is a lie. But then they tell you, do you bank online? And if you do, they ask you to go and open your bank account online while they're crawling around in your computer. And once you do that, they will arrange to send your refund direct from their bank to your bank. Okay, that sounds okay so far, right? They're getting money back. Well, the only problem is there's always a problem. And the typical refund scam, they will make a mistake. And they'll go, oh my God, sorry. we made a mistake. We sent you too much money. And they'll tell you to look at your bank account online. You had $10,000 in it, and now you've got $20,000 in it. You know, we only meant to send you $1,000 back, but we sent you 10,000 by mistake. Look at your bank account. You can see where we gave you too much money. Okay, that's and by the way, this stuff is all by script. You can call these people back over and over. They have a script written out, word for word, and they say the same thing to the same people all over. And once they tell you that they've made this mistake, then they go into this charade about how they're going to lose their job, and they're so upset, and that you know you're not entitled to that money. And please, dear lady, be kind, send the money back so I don't lose my job, my wife, my kids. They'll start crying on the other end. They'll start crying that they're going to lose their job because they gave you too much money in your bank account. And the only problem is, for some bizarre reason, they can't reverse it. Even though they put it in, they can't unput it in. They can't do that. So they give you all these other scenarios of how to do it. One of the most common is they'll say, well, do you live near a Target? Do you live near an Apple store? And they will then tell you, what we want you to do is get in your car quickly, go out and get $5,000 or $10,000 in Target gift cards, and then come back and read them the numbers so they can get the money over the line from the Target gift cards. Yeah, it sounds bizarre, but they do it. And people all over this country, young, old, smart, not so smart, they fall for it. $150 million a year are getting in their cars, going to Target, going to Apple, going to, where else they go? Best Buy, and they buy gift cards. And when they come back and the gift cards are, then the numbers are read off to the people on the other end, they then cash in the gift card money. They have the money. And what you find out is that money they said they put into your bank account, that was a charade. That was a charade. If you call your banker, you'll find out that money was never put in your bank. They just manipulated numbers on the face of your statement that you were looking at. Okay? Am I going too fast? That's kind of it. And there are a lot of ways this comes at you. By the way, some of the people that the smaller amounts, like if they're stealing $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 from you, they'll ask you to get the gift cards and we'll cash them in. Some of these people, because what they do is when they get into your computer and they see your bank account, they're looking at how much money you have. And if you have $1 million in savings, and if you have $100,000 in checking, they're stealing like $40,000, $50,000 from people. And what they do is they tell them to go to their bank and get cash from their bank, and then come back and put it in a box and wrap it up in aluminum foil and then surround it, because people will look when you go to FedEx, put things like shoes or old objects in the box. So the people at FedEx think you're just sending clothes to somebody and they don't see the money in it. And believe it or not, there have been people wiped out for $40,000, $50,000 or more by this method. And then the box is sent somewhere to somebody who picks it up, what they call a mule, who will pick up the box on someone's doorstep and then send it over to Thailand or India or somewhere. And you will never see that money again. Your bank is not responsible to you. Your credit cards aren't responsible to you, and the FBI can't help you. It's really sad because, you know, we always like to think if we catch the bad guys, we can get the money back. No. And that's why I think what I'm telling you tonight and what I hope you will spread the word to others is about refund scams. And it comes at you a lot of different ways. I told you about Amazon. Amazon's one. By the way, let me show you. And I just got this a couple days ago on my phone. It's an email. You probably can't see it, but it's an email. And it reads, order confirmation. Yeti, like the people that make the cold things, Yeti Hopper Cooler. And it has a pending order number, and it looks like it's being ordered by the email address that it comes from. Looks like Staples, but it's not. It's a fake email address. It has these bizarre letters. In fact, let me read it. It says, like, in lowercase PZ1K J Tom F at connected.staples.com. And I'm supposed to believe that's Staples. That's not Staples. And I didn't make that order. Now, what I do is I watch my credit cards in case anything does show up. But I never open this. I never respond to this. Oh, and let me speak to that. Down at the bottom here, there's a thing, congratulations, confirmed now. No, we're not going to do that. Not going to confirm that order. But down at the bottom here, there's a little thing across the bottom that says, if you no longer wish to receive these emails, you may unsubscribe by clicking here or by writing to some fake address in Las Vegas. Okay? Do not hit that thing that says you're unsubscribing to these emails. Because 9 times out of 10, that's actually connected to something that says you just confirm the purchase. I know it's tricky. You know, I don't know how to tell you, trust nobody, nothing, never know anybody, anytime, nothing. My dad, bless his heart, rest in heaven, was born in Brooklyn, grew up in the Bronx, grew up in the streets of New York City. And he got his undergraduate education on the streets of New York City. And when I was growing up, the one thing he used to, I hate to say chide or laugh at me about or whatever it was, I was too trusting. That was my character flaw. I was too trusting. And I used to think he was too untrusting. You know, I don't know if you know what it's like to be with someone who never believes anybody who says anything. But that was my dad. And my dad would do very well today with these people. And what I'm trying to do to you is I'm trying to put something in your head. I'm trying to build up your distrust, not of each other, not of people you know, not of family, not of me, hopefully. But if you don't know them, distrust it. And especially something like this. You didn't ask for this. This came to you. Okay? Call that red flag number 2. Number 2 is, did you go to it or did it come to you? This thing that's going on. Is it because you responded to an email that was sent to you telling you had an issue, you had a problem. And in fact, it's not just Amazon or other, stores or whatever. It can look like a software company, Microsoft, Norton, Symantec, these people that are supposedly protecting your computers right now. You can get an email from Norton. And in fact, one of the very common ones going around now is when you bought your computer, you may not remember, but you subscribed to Norton Software or what's the other one, McAfee, to protect your computers. Excuse me. It's good, it's coming up. Sorry. But you'll get an email saying that you're up for renewal or you're being automatically renewed. Oh, dear Lord, how many things do you have that automatically renew? You bought a magazine and every year now you buy that magazine and on. That's one of the hottest things out there is make you an offer as long as it automatically renews and keeps going. Well, a lot of times when you answer this email that says McAfee or Norton is getting ready to charge you $599 and it's going to renew in 10 days, what do? Do you ignore it? Do you have the courage to ignore it? No. You pick up the phone, you call the 1-800 number. By the way, it looks legitimate. It looks like Norton or Symantec or McAfee. And you call them. And here you are. And again, I'm not xenophobic, but you'll be talking to somebody with an Indian accent from India. And the funny part about it is they all have names like John Smith, Paul Parker. Yeah, it's funny. Joe Wilson. I wish I had common names like they have. They're beautiful names. And they're like right out of a book or something, but none of them ever have Indian names like Raj or Patel or anything. But you'll get this thing from Norton about the renewal, and you call them up, and they will apologize to you, and they'll say, do you want it? Do you want this protection or not? And a lot of us get a lot of free protection anyways, but we don't want that. And so they say, here comes, okay, we're going to refund it to you. And at that point, just like the Amazon one, they set you up with a TeamViewer or AnyDesk where they can connect to your computer. And they start walking around your computer and they start walking around your bank account. And then they give you the refund and then, oops, they gave you too much. It's the same scenario coming at you from something different. So how do you deal with that? One of the best ways, and again, I'm trying not to be the forest hiding the trees here. Number one, is there a refund? Are you having to give money back to the person that was saying they refunded you the money? Number two, did they come to you? Did they start it in some way? But the other thing is, losing my train of thought. They're backing your computers. It's the same refund scam coming from the same place. Let me take a peek at my notes here. The India call centers contact you. Oh, yeah, this is a good one. The best way to deal with it is to go yourself, don't call the number that you got in the message. I don't care if it's Symantec, Amazon support, whatever. Whatever you got in here, don't call that number. Go yourself to the legitimate website of Amazon. I've done this. When I got the call one time or the email about the camera, I went to Amazon directly, not through what they were giving me on the email, but I got online because, I guess like a lot of us, I have an Amazon account that I have a password to and I can get into. And I looked at my account and there was nothing in there about a camera. And then I talked to someone at Amazon and I said, can you tell me whether or not anybody bought a camera on my account? And they said no. And that was that. The point is, you go right back to them. Microsoft, Symantec, McAfee, whoever it is that comes to you and you get this thing about a fraudulent anything you got bought. Don't go back through that. If there's a link, dear Lord, do not hit any link that anybody hits. Do you all know what a link is? It's like those funny blue letters and numbers. It looks like you hit it and then it takes you somewhere. Never hit one of those. Never, ever hit one of those on an email that you got. And just like I was showing you on this thing I got that says hit here and unsubscribe, no, just close it, trash it, whatever. Do not hit anything they invite you to hit, including an unsubscribe button. In fact, there's when you get the packet, I'm going to send you this beautiful 5-page paper that was actually prepared by a former FBI agent, a guy named Jeff Lanza. You can look him up online. He also does a little bit on YouTube, full of information. But one of the things I learned from him, how many times have you been on a computer? Okay, we're not talking about emails now, and we're not talking about a text message, but you're on a computer and all of a sudden a little blue box pops up and it says, we've detected you have a virus or you've got malware and we're Microsoft. And if you click this and come to us, we'll fix it for you. Okay, that's not Microsoft. That's the crooks. I don't know how they're able to do it. I don't know why our computer people can't stop it, but I've seen them many times. And one of the things I learned from Jeff Lanza, the FBI guy, is in that little blue box, there'll be a little blue box about the size of an inch or so telling you, there's a virus and click here and find out more and so forth. There's a little X up in the corner. And we are all familiar with little X's in the corner. When you want to leave a page, when you want to close something, you hit that little X in the corner. Am I right? Yes, no? We do it all the time. Well, when that little box opens up and it has a little X in the corner, the FBI guy says, don't even hit that X. Don't even hit that X. And by the way, again, everything I'm telling you right now, and more, and a lot more. I'm going to send you in this, okay? It'll be at the church, it'll be in some folders. If you can't pick it up at the folder and you want to send me your mailing address or whatever, I will mail it directly to you. But a lot of times hitting that little X in that box is hitting the link to go to the bad guys. I didn't know that. I had no idea. These people are very good at what they do, and they're a lot better than we are. And they're working on it all the time. They're out there all the time figuring out how to cheat and steal from us. I know I just said a lot, despite telling you I'm not going to say. Anybody have any questions about what I just said? There won't be on a test. No. Okay. Anybody still awake? Have I got
Yeah, I tried to read maybe some of the questions that came in the chat.
I'm sorry. Do I have sound on?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. There's some people that wrote things inside the chat, so I'll see if I can pick something out.
Oh, okay. I hope they didn't say bad things about me. Okay. Oh, chats. I see. I'm sorry, folks. I'm just not that good about Zoom.
So if somebody has a question they'd like to ask Mr. Blumenthal, because we only going to keep him on just a few more minutes. So if you got a question, you guys know how to raise your hand.
Anybody speak up? I do have a couple more things I'd like to go over.
I think someone wanted to know about identity theft. Yes, that's one of the things that they were interested
Yeah, you know,
in.
here's what I'm going to tell you. This is 5 pages, and it's neatly broken down into little sections. And I spent 2 hours reading this slowly, and it would take me 4 hours to tell you about. Let me go over a couple of things very quickly on identity theft, okay? Everybody still awake? Okay. And this is from the FBI guide. And this is something I didn't know. Social Security Administration has a thing on their website where you can open an account in your name. I did it as a matter of course when I began getting Social Security. I went there, I opened an account. I have my own username and password, and it's on the Social Security Administration website. The FBI man says, whether or not you're 62 years old or not, go open an account in your name. And especially if you're 62 and you haven't done it. Because if you don't, somebody else can get there before you, open an account in your name, and your Social Security checks will start going to them. He absolutely recommends that. Even for children, go ahead and open their Social Security account. And then you can always check and deal with it. Okay, freezing your credit report. How many of you know about freezing your credit report? Okay. There's a thing where, and by the way, this beautiful paper has all the online contact information where you can go online. There are actually 4 credit bureaus now, not just 3. And he recommends, the FBI guy, recommends freezing your credit report with all of them. And what that does is it denies access to all the bad guys. Nobody will be able to open a credit card in your name. Nobody will be able to try and, if they steal your identity, they will not be able to open accounts, buy cars, take out a mortgage, buy a house in your name. And that's one of the things you want. Now, it's a pain, it's inconvenient, because if you do decide you want to buy a car, then you have to contact each bureau and ask them for what's called a one-time PIN number. And then when you're sitting there applying to buy a car, you have to give those one-time PIN numbers to the financing company that you're buying the car with. But then it freezes again and it stays frozen. And it's one of those things. And again, a lot of this information is sought out for my own benefit, because I've been talking to my wife for over a year about, what happens if, should we be buying LifeLock? Yeah. This is something you can do. I don't know if it costs anything. Now, you have to be careful because there's freezing your credit and then there's other things. The credit bureaus like Experian want to sell you a service that's not freezing your account, but it's like setting up alerts and monitoring and on and on and on. And it's good, but you pay for that. It's something they're selling. But also, one of the things the FBI guy points out is the difference between setting your account up for alerts and setting your account up for freezing it. Is freezing it prevents the identity theft people from opening credit in your name. Alerts don't prevent getting ripped off. Alerts just tell you when it happens. You may have thing on your credit report for fraud alerts, please. And the bad guy sits down at the car dealership. And as soon as the bad guy presents the car dealership with fake IDs in your name and identifies himself as the true you, then they sell him the car and you're in trouble. You find yourself paying for somebody else's car. So there's a difference between freezing your credit and I'm going to say, and all the other stuff. All the other stuff helps, but it's not foolproof. And again, this is the FBI guy. This is page 1 of the first 3 things he's telling you. Number 2 is freeze your credit reports. Number 2 is the obvious, protect your paperwork, shred everything, and be very careful about online. There's a lot of things where people store stuff in clouds and store stuff here, or a lot of you may send information by email that's not encrypted and gets intercepted. There's all kinds of ways it can get caught. Encryption is something. Let's see, pop-ups. He talks about the pop-ups. That's why I was telling you about those little boxes that pop up out of nowhere, out of left field, and they're talking about something you're not talking about. I mean, I understand, like, if I'm online and I'm shopping for tires and all of a sudden, what's his name at Facebook is popping up stuff all the time about tires. I get that. That's what they do. And that's why I get Facebook for free, because they look over my shoulder while I'm shopping. What I'm talking about these are these malware pop-ups. And like he said, what he says, by the way, if you get the little blue box and he says, don't hit the X on it, he says, hit Control Alt Delete. Shut down your computer with Control Alt Delete. It's in here, tells you how to do it. And then it also says, after you do that, run a quick scan on your malware software. For those of you familiar, mine runs all the time, once a day or something, but you can run it, you can make it go on your own. Oh, this one I like. How many of you know what a passphrase is instead of a password? I use them. I never knew it was anything cool. I thought I used them just because I was too dumb to remember passwords. But there's a reason why the FBI guy says use passphrases. For example, instead of like cat dad 101 or whatever, put something on there like, my cats are eating all the food. My cats are eating all the food. And the reason they say that is this. These bad guys have powerful computers. And no matter what word or name you think of that you think nobody can think of, they've got a massive computer that will run your computer and figure out any password you have. They're that good. They're that powerful. I know myself, when I open something and it says, do you want us to suggest a crazy hard password to do? I usually do those. But I also have a couple of these passphrases too. But he just encourages that because, again, the powerful computers, you know, you put down Cat Daddy Jane 1951 for your birth year or whatever, and that computer can figure it out because it's powerful enough, incredibly, to run all those words and numbers and keep changing them. What else? I'm just going through the highlights quickly. Protect your social security number. Don't get, look, remember how I told you before about these scams that come to you somehow? They come to you and then nobody, no legitimate person is going to come to you and ask you for your social security number, Medicare number, anything number, driver's license number, date of birth number, anything. Don't give anybody anything, period. Be like my dad. Don't trust anybody about anything. But they, you know, they're saying there's all kinds of ways that now, interestingly, and again, this is the FBI guy. If somebody like my bank or my telephone company says, just tell us your last four numbers, FBI guy says that's okay. That's okay. They want your last four numbers. We're good with that. No problem. But your whole number? Oh, and while I'm on that subject, excuse me, I noticed. Doctor's offices. Have you ever been to a doctor's office? Probably, yes. And they give you paper while you're waiting. Fill this out. It's your life story and all your personal information, where you live, who you bank with, who your neighbors are. Yeah. Between you and me, when I fill that out, I lie about most of it. All the stuff that you know, you got two choices. You can either get in a fight with a nurse at the desk and say, I'm not giving you this, and then I'm going home. Or you can do like me and just like be senile at the right times and don't give them stuff. They want a social security number. I give them the right number of numbers. I don't know whose they are, but they're not mine. And by the way, and I think it's been a while since I looked at it. I don't know if it's a federal law or Maryland state law. They're really not supposed to be asking for it. But if you go into a doctor's office and they do that, just, you know, feel free to make a mistake. You know, look, it's a long number. It's hard to remember. And anybody can be forgiven for getting a couple of numbers wrong. So yeah, doctor's offices, things like that. He says, look, we know there's some times when you have to. When you apply for a job and they're going to do a background check on you, hold your breath, but you got to give them the number. You're not going to get the job. And you know, those of us on Medicare with that lovely Medicare card, they used to have our number on it. And I used to hate every time I handed it to someone. And then, you know, praise be, they changed the cards and they made the numbers something else. There were, by the way, and I don't know if Maryland did it. I think Maryland did it at one time. Maryland had your social security number on your driver's license up until a few years back, you know? And it was like, well, you know, so we can cash your check. Really? It was like going all over the place. Fortunately, back in the day when we did that, there wasn't as much identity theft as there is now. You know, the more identity theft has grown, the more people like the state of Maryland, DMV, have clamped down on information. Harder to get. This is a very interesting part. It says when somebody does steal your identity, when you find out that somebody has opened an account in your name, charged something in your name, opened a bank account in your name, something. The FBI guy, not me, very smart FBI guy, has a list of 6 things here to do. And he gives you he gives you all the contact on the credit bureaus. Call them immediately. Tell the credit bureaus your identity's been hacked. They will put that all over your thing, and people will have a harder time getting into your credit or getting credit on your information. Again, that's after the horse has run out of the barn. It's not as good as the credit freeze, but this is what to do when you didn't do anything and you got in trouble here. Number 2, if your identity is stolen, they will start filing tax returns in your name. For those of you crazy enough to play the game so you get refunds every year, I never get a refund. I either pay them or owe nothing, but I never get a refund. They're not going to hold my money all year. I'm sorry. But for those of you who do, because I know people like getting a refund check, and that's okay. A lot of us were brought up that way. That wasn't my dad from Brooklyn. But if you get that, immediately contact the IRS and your state taxing authority, the comptroller in Maryland. Again, contact information's in here, because you want to do that before they start filing false returns in your name. They'll get your returns and you'll go to jail, you know? So you want to contact them. Medical care, drugs, if you've got insurance, contact Medicare, contact people like that. Social Security, I told you from page 1, the FBI guy wants you to have a Social Security account. If your identity gets hacked, you tell Social Security right away. They may even issue you a new number. I don't know, but you tell them. Unemployment benefits. Believe it or not, the state of Maryland and other states around the country have been scammed for billions of dollars by people filing false unemployment claims, especially during the COVID, when so many people were out and so many benefits were being paid. In the mix, there were a lot of false claims. And they do that by getting your information, getting where you worked and how old you are and where you live and your Social Security number. And then they start collecting your unemployment checks. Oh, and by the way, you have to pay taxes on your unemployment checks. I never understood that. So at the end of the year, when somebody else got your unemployment checks, you're going to pay taxes on it or spend years fighting with the taxing authority. And this is another one. And this is one that I've never thought of before. They steal the identity of dead people. When someone dies and they have good credit and all that stuff, they will search the obituaries and they'll do the identity theft and they will steal their identity. What they recommend, if you're handling the affairs of someone who's passed on, get 4 death certificates and send them to each credit bureau so that they are on file with the bureaus. You know, it's amazing. I mean, I handled my mom and my dad, and you know, there were people that came out of the woodwork, tried to collect money and stuff on fake accounts. It's amazing. You know, thieves have no conscience. If they did, they wouldn't be thieves, right? Doesn't it kind of add up? Credit monitoring, fraud alert, credit lock. He talks about these terms and why they're different. And he kind of does a compare and contrast for you. Credit monitoring, again, it's good to have, but it's an after the fact thing. Fraud alerts the same way. Credit locks, they're not credit freezes. They just make it a little harder for the identity theft. Child, again, if you have children, you have to be on the alert for identity theft on that. Social media. Oh, friend requests. Gee, you know, I get people all the time. Some of them think I'm lonely and need a companion. Have you noticed lately on Facebook, like if you make a comment on a page, somebody will comment and say, I really like what you said. By the way, I have been making a lot of money and I'm getting really rich because I have this friend so-and-so, and you really ought to contact them. Social media. Robocalls and identity theft. You know, again, the robocalls, if somebody's calling you, it's like anything else. Somebody's contacting you, they're initiating it. Just, I think we're all smart enough, but look, there's a reason why robocalls exist. Robocalls exist because they work. They may not work 1,000 times, but that 1,001 time, they'll get somebody. It talks about how to remove your name from lists, from unwanted mail, unwanted phone calls. Oh, multi-factor authentication. Are you all familiar with this? It's a pain. It's a pain. I do it every chance I get. If somebody asks you, do you want multi-factor Authentication, yes. What happens is you try to log on to your website and your website or Amazon or somebody says, great, we're going to send you an authentication code by text message to the phone number that we have on file for you. So then you have to put in your username, your password, and then as an extra step, you got a text message and you got to give them that one-time code that expires in 10 minutes. And that gets you into what you're doing. Because that way, somebody, again, with just your username and just your passcode doesn't get in. And you, not only that, you know they tried. Because when they send that out, if you remember and you look at some of these, they'll say, you have asked for this authentication code. And oh, by the way, at the bottom of this, if you didn't ask for this, then you need to do something because somebody's into your stuff and they're asking for it. So don't just ignore that. If you get it and you didn't ask for it, it means somebody's knocking on the door trying to get into your stuff. Okay. Fake emails, oh man, fake emails. Home Wi-Fi network, he talks about, if you're John Jones, don't name your Wi-Fi network Jones. And also he recommends, a lot of times default network names will have like NetWare on it or links that it tells the people what kind of NetWare you're using on your Wi-Fi. It helps them get in. I hate to tell you this, and I don't know if I should, but I have a son-in-law that's a computer genius. That's what he does for a living. And we have a condo and they came to stay in it. And at the time we didn't have Wi-Fi. So what he did was he went on and he looked at all the Wi-Fis that were popping up from all the condos around him. And he just broke into them. It was like nothing for him to break codes or whatever. And then he spent the week using their Wi-Fi service. Now, fortunately, he wasn't a bad guy. If he was a bad guy, he could have locked people out of their own Wi-Fi and used their Wi-Fi to do evil things. He was just somebody who wanted free Wi-Fi. And at the time, my condo didn't have it. It does now, so he won't be shopping neighbors' condos for Wi-Fi. But apparently it's not that hard. Have a really good password on your Wi-Fis. You know, you think it's just inside the house. But my neighbors, I can see my neighbors and you know, these are houses, you know, separate houses. I can see their Wi-Fis. I don't go into them. But my Wi-Fi has a passcode number that's like, I don't know, 10, 12, 14 numbers long or something. We have it written down in a cupboard. I have to stand in front of it and punch it in on a device. But have a really strong thing. It's really important to keep people out of your Wi-Fi. And also, don't use public Wi-Fi. Don't use it. If you do, how many of you know what a VPN is? Please, if you do, go to Holiday Inn or you're sitting in the tire place waiting for your car and you want to use their free Wi-Fi, don't do it unless you have VPN. In fact, I heard today there's a way to have double VPN, but I haven't figured that out yet. But VPN keeps them, it puts up like a firewall. You know, the bad guys don't get to your phone, they get to the VPN that stops them, supposedly. And I told you about tech support scams. He has in there about tech support scams. If you need tech support, I'm willing to bet, number one, there's probably 10 people in your church that are smart enough to help. I know Reverend Jimerson can, because I know how smart he is. He's told me stuff. But if you need tech support, go online to a tech support place like the Geek Squad or whatever, or go into the store, or we got people a block away or something. But here's the problem. And I didn't realize this. I can tell you in the last several weeks, I've learned so much stuff. If I go online and I put on in Google search, I want Microsoft support, okay? Microsoft support. I was naive enough to think that all those things that popped up on my computer is Microsoft. And the fact is, probably the first 6 things at the top are not Microsoft, but they are scam centers in India. You need to go all the way down till you find something that's legitimately Microsoft. Because those people up there, they look like Microsoft, they talk like Microsoft, they may even wear a tie, you know. And of course, the problem is, I hate to stereotype, but we're so used to people from India being smart about computers that it doesn't surprise us when we get a computer tech support, he has an India accent. And they always tell you when you talk to them, they always say they're in California. They're calling you from California, or you're calling them in California, and they're really in Kolkata. So I can see eyelids coming down, and I know I've gone about 15 minutes over when I should have. And I know I lied to you because I said I was going to try not to say a lot. But what I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to send you this stuff from this FBI guy, loaded, packed with information, and it's a resource. It's something that you can photocopy, give to friends, and you keep it by your computer. And if you need to do something, then write quickly. Here's how I get to IRS. Here's how I get to the credit bureaus. Boom, it's right here. You don't have to spend time looking for it. And I'm also going to tell you about the bullet points. And I know I'm running on. 2 quick things. When I met with you 3 years ago, I wanted to say to you, how do you know when you need to call a lawyer? Nobody wants to call a lawyer. And by the way, your call to me is free. It's something I do for the church. It's something I do for you. You don't have to worry about calling me and getting a bill, okay? That's okay. I would rather you call me than not get in trouble. But how do you know when to call? Number one, what you're doing, buying a car, buying a house, buying a generator for the house, buying solar panels for the house. Is it something expensive? Are you into something right now that costs tens of thousands of dollars? Number two, do you actually understand what you're reading? You know, a lot of times I don't. It's very hard. And, you know, I can read it quickly because they're documents that I've read before. You know what I'm saying? Like when I see a paragraph for mandatory arbitration, I know what it means and I know what it says. And so I can read through it very quickly. But the point is, if you're getting ready to sign a document and you don't know what it all means, stop. Especially, and let me tell you, I say this, and I may have even mentioned it before. I have a dear friend, he's a client for probably more than 20 years, 30 years, maybe, I don't know. But he signed a contract for solar panels. And one of the things was he signed it and all the terms weren't in it. There were blanks. And the guy said, well, go ahead and sign it. And my client said, well, you know, it's not final until you tell me what the interest rates are. Yeah, go ahead, sign it. So the guy signs it. And then a few weeks later, guy comes back and says, well, those $60,000 solar panels are 14% interest. And my client said, no, I'm not doing that. And the guy said, okay, you owe us $5,000. Huh? He signed a piece of paper that said, if for any reason at all, he broke the contract, he owed him $5,000. So now we're in court, and I can tell you this because we're in court. This isn't attorney-client stuff. This is public record. We're litigating it in the courthouse in Baltimore County. By the way, he lives in Waldorf. And we're having to litigate this in Baltimore County. He's having to go up there. Fortunately, my friends who know Tim Pfizer, his main office is in Towson. So, you know, that's a break for us. But yeah, we're up in Baltimore County fighting why this company shouldn't get $5,000 when they never did a thing. But again, my client, who I love dearly, and you know, I've known him since a dog bit him 20 years ago, signs a paper, incomplete terms, and doesn't understand. And there were terms in there that I would never agree to. If I looked over that contract before he signed it, I'd have taken out a big black magic marker and I'd have struck through paragraphs on that. So the point is, and with these cars, and one more thing I want to talk about used cars. Buying cars is expensive. There are car dealers in Waldorf. And I'm not talking about the little guys with the lots and the waving windy things. I'm talking about some of the big prestigious, big name dealers in Waldorf, and I'm saying Waldorf, I don't know if it's there, that are flat out cheating people, lying. Now, I understand negotiating, and the chances are every time I go in and buy a car, I probably don't get the best deal. You know, the guy on the other side knows more about cars and finance than I do, and probably beats me out of something. But I'm talking about things like telling somebody, you know, there was a client who's bought a car, paid good money, like 12, 14,000 for a used car, drive home, and the transmission light comes on, goes back, and they don't want to do anything about it. They turn the transmission light back off. Come to find out, when that car was inspected, they turned the transmission light off, the check warning light, and sold him the car. And then they lied about it. And it turned out the transmission was bad, needed a new transmission. And it's just this kind of thing. You know, if $12,000, $14,000 is a lot of money in anybody's world, and to be lied to that degree, and that's just an example, but there are numerous examples. So what I would tell you is this: number one, I would tell you don't buy a cheap used car in Waldorf, number one. Number two, if you have to, before you buy it, make a condition that you take it out of there to another mechanic to be looked at. Because this other mechanic found the transmission thing like that. Number three, call me. for a couple reasons. These dealerships are forcing people to sign what's called mandatory arbitration agreements. Now, if you buy a brand new Ford, you're going to end up having to do that. That's a national thing. And until it's dealt with federally, yeah. But on a little thing like a used car, you tell them, you want to sell this car, I'm not signing that paper. That paper has nothing to do with our agreement to buy and sell this car. What happens is you sign that mandatory arbitration agreement. You call me up, you say, I've just been cheated. And I tell you, I can't do anything unless I'm taking arbitration. Arbitration probably in Baltimore City, you may have to pay $2,000 out of pocket just for the fee to pay for the private arbitration person. And whereas if you didn't sign that paper and you called me up, for $25, I could go down to the district court and sue their tail off. It would cost $25 to file the case, $35 now, I think, for the bigger cases. And I can sue them up to $30,000 problem. Most of these problems are in the $5,000 to $10,000 range. But my hands are tied as a lawyer and I can't help you if you sign that agreement. So number one, if you go, and I'm going to put this in the package, I'm going to have a little thing about used cars. If you don't know what you're doing, take somebody with you that does. But get it checked out by another. If you got to buy one of these cheap used cars, because even though it's on a big lot and it looks like a reputable dealer, they're not. They're lying and cheating worse than anybody. You know, and I don't usually say that about, but I feel very strongly about this. I've seen horrible instances. We're not talking about mistakes. We're not talking about somebody should have got a better price. We're talking about outright hiding horrible stuff. So I will send this to you. Again, I apologize that I've covered a lot of stuff. I will send you the package. And Reverend Jimerson, Latanya Jimerson, Reverend Latanya, excuse me, I'm trying to distinguish out this Reverend and that Reverend.
We're good.
But they have my contact information. They have my phone number, they have my email, and I will put it in the packages. My goal in life is not to represent you in court. My goal in life is to be that Fram oil filter that keeps you from needing a lawyer. I don't want you to have a problem. When those little things go off in your stomach, those little things that say, I'm not feeling comfortable, I don't know, call me, and let's walk through it together, because it's a lot easier than trying to run to India and get your money back. Okay? Are we good? Call it a night?
We appreciate you, Mr. Blumenthal, for spending some time getting us all ready to get this battle of people trying to cheat everybody out of their hard-earned money.
It's a sad world, my friend. You know, there's something called the 10 Commandments. And I once heard, if people would do what they're supposed to do, we wouldn't need lawyers or courts or police or judges or jails, or just do the right thing. Sorry, I sound like Spike Lee now. Okay, guys. It's been my honor and privilege and pleasure, and it's always a pleasure to be with you people. You know that. The two of you are my blessing.
We appreciate
you and you.
We appreciate you so much for thinking of us when this stuff gets to you, and you know that you need to get the information out there. We're just thankful that you think of us, because I know that all of us have more things to think about, some things we've never probably given any, not really, know what we're doing. And we're all out in cyberspace at some place or another. We kind of need to know these scams are up there. Most of us can relate to much of what you've said. We're thankful if we didn't get burned, and we're just thankful for being wiser because of it. And we look forward to the packet and the information and the ability to put those things in practice. And so we thank you so much. That if you could read in the chat line, everybody is saying thank you, and a lot of comments,
Again,
a lot of
it's-
us
it's
saying,
real
"Wow, that's what it
privilege.
was." Yeah. So we appreciate you. We want you to go be well.
I'm going to bed.
Yeah, go be well, please.
Thank
And we'll talk and chat real soon.
Okay, good night, folks.
Good night. God bless you.
You too.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Good night.
Good night.